Hello, welcome to another episode of Awakening with Soulspirational. I'm Tish, and I'm going to do things a little different this time. So at this point, I don't know what the episode's going to be. So for those of you that have been into the studio or that know me, I like working with tarot and oracle cards. This is a beautiful deck, and I can't think of who it's by. They're called Grace cards, and each one has a different name to it with a saying on the back. So what I was thinking is maybe I'll just pull one of the cards and maybe just talk a little bit about the subject. All right, so let's see here. Stop on this one. Oh, all right. Perception. So this is what today's episode is going to be about. So this is the front. The back side says, see the past through the lens of grace. All that occurs is designed to support our spiritual evolution. So again, perception, see the past through the lens of grace. So, perception. Let's see, this is, yep. All right, so see the past through the lens of grace. How beautiful. All that occurs is designed to support our spiritual evolution. And let's see here. So I can get this to stay up there. All right. So let's talk about perception. So with this particular deck, the Grace cards, again, I think this is just such a beautiful deck. See the past through the lens of grace. I can already hear somewhere in my own head saying, I can't see it through the lens of grace because this happened and that wasn't graceful. So, but when I push through that initial, yes, the conversations that I have in my own head, and when I push through that and realize that there are some things that I already, through the process of healing, through the process of my own growth and evolution, that there are some things from the past that I once looked at, or through the energy of maybe even, victimhood, or feeling very small, or isolated, or invisible, whatever it may have been. Getting to a place through healing where I can look upon that situation, those instances, really through a lens of grace. Finding a way of where I have found forgiveness of others, where I have found forgiveness within myself. So I'm going to kind of bracket this here. Make sure I have enough board space here. When I think of grace, I think of God. You know, how often do we say, by the grace of God, there go I, by the grace of God, fill in the blank. Through the grace of God, this happened. So when I'm looking at the past through the lens of grace, I think about, I try to anyway, think about the God energy in my spirit, so that which runs through me. I am one who believes that all of us have a purpose here, whatever that may be for each individual, and that each of us are a part of God. Each of us are loved by God, even if, well, I won't even get into that. So each of us are loved by God, or this greater source. Maybe you see it as the universal, or one consciousness. I know I always have such a hard time with that word. So through the grace of God. So if I were to, maybe some of the situations call for me to kind of step outside of my situation and see it through the lens of God. What is the greater purpose of me having gone through whatever it was that I had gone through, what I'm healing or processing? Can I step outside of myself to see it from this higher, that 35-foot perspective, or from the God perspective? The God perspective. I like that. So, can I look at my situation and see it from that God perspective, from that higher perspective? When I look at all that occurs is designed to support our spiritual evolution. That so many things that came my way that, one point feeling as a victim, or feeling as though, why is this happening to me? How come this always happens? First of all, I learned to quit asking those questions, because the universe would bring more to me saying, well, if you want to know, we will let you know. And I'm just checking my mic there. So that if you want to know, then we'll let you know. So I quit asking the question. And I started to realize that whatever was up ahead was going to be something beautiful. Whether it was just this beautiful thing that came my way, or it was a challenge, offering me a place, again, of healing, of growth, of evolution, which still is a beautiful thing. The beauty of healing, the beauty of growing, and it may feel painful in the moment. And I would like to say I try to grow through grace, or with grace. I'm not always successful at it, because sometimes it just really, really hurts, and I still need to vent, or whatever it may be. But through the grace of God. So recognizing that some of life's things, some of life's situations occurred to absolutely support my spiritual evolution, because there were lessons in these things that had happened. And I don't mean to minimize like deep, hurtful life experiences, even though those too can bring about great change and insight. And boy, when we can take something very deep and find a way to heal ourselves, find a way to offload, maybe some of that guilt, the shame, especially if it isn't ours, and to forgive self, to forgive others, that is, it's a beautiful thing. So when we realize that different situations, different things have happened to us to get us to grow. If we keep getting nudges from the universe that it's time for this or it's time for that, and we keep avoiding it or ignoring it, it may be a voice in our head saying, you know what, you should really do this, although you know how I feel about the should word. It's time to do this, it's time to do that. And we keep ignoring it or pushing it aside, or we're seeing a lot of synchronicities, but we're logging them, but we're kind of pushing them away at the same time, because maybe we feel as though we aren't ready for something. Well, the universe will come around and bring something to us to get us moving, and that too may be part of our spiritual evolution. So when life happens, maybe we lose a job, or we get sent to a different department within our company. And it's funny, I kind of stammered on that, because we are so funny how we don't like change as humans. We just seem to not really accept change very well. So even sliding over to another department, the way that we'll just resist that, because we get so comfortable within our own positions and our own place, that or maybe I've had this happen in the past where our company was bought out by another company, and just kind of holding your breath and closing off, not knowing what the new owners were going to do with the company, who's going to have to leave, or where would people be reassigned? Is it going to be a loss of income? You have all these things that it just kind of holds you there. But if you can see that buyout the company being bought out by somebody else, maybe that's what you've been needing to get out of that particular field, or to get out of that particular company to get in with somebody else. So if we think about it through the God perspective, could there be a larger picture in this? What is my growth and evolution from this perspective? When we do this, it also allows us to take things less personally. I have a thought in my mind, but maybe I'll say that for a different video. So, just kind of pulled me away from my other thought. When we are operating in the state of grace, state of God, which I also feel state of love, it's really hard pressed to be here and feel anything less than. And I've mentioned this in some of my videos in the past, that if I'm going somewhere where there's somebody there that I may not be incredibly excited about seeing, I will try to get myself into a state of love. Love is high energy, it's all encompassing, it's open, so it's receptive, it's also giving. So when I'm going to a place and I'm in the state of love, it is so difficult for somebody to knock me off my feet, so to speak. It's hard for me to take things on a personal level because I'm in the state of love that is so much greater than who this physical body is or what this physical body is. And that's where things can also get mended. Relationships can come back together just by allowing ourselves to be within that state of love. And we're just going to come right back down here to the God perspective. Again, if I were to pull myself up and away from maybe whatever energies I've been getting caught up in, so maybe I'll talk about this after all. Being in the human body and the human mind, especially reading through, I don't know, for those of you who may have read A Course in Miracles, I'm still getting through it. I put it on hold for a little bit for my own reasons, but it's the separation of once become a human being, there's this, separation from God. So then we start working on, the human aspects, different things that we can see with our human eyes and feel with our human hands, etc. And it's like it just kind of pulls us away from our God self, the spirit that is of God that is within each and every one of us. So knowing that at any time, if we choose, we can remind ourselves that we're so much more, if this represents the human side of us, that we can just kind of pull back over into our higher self, into our spirit, to look at things again from the God perspective, from a healthier perspective. When we pull back to the God self, that place of God within us, again, it's hard to take things as personally. I mean, there's some times where I just need to spend a little time taking things personally and revel in it a little because I'm still human too. But then I do try and pull myself back over to that higher perspective. What was meant from this confrontation? What was meant from this particular situation arising? And I do try to get that better perspective, and it just feels better. I'm one of those people, I'm constantly analyzing, I'm constantly thinking, and so it helps for me to, there's just something, everything has to just make sense. For the most part, I've gotten somewhat better over the years, but I like for things to click, to make sense. And when something isn't, I will just go over and over until I can get that shift of perspective where everything falls in place, whatever it may be. So then the more some of these other issues where I can get over to that, into my higher self, or that place of God within me, see it from that higher, that different perspective, then things are in place, and then I can get back into my human mind obsessing over whatever other thing still isn't making sense yet. And I don't mind that I'm like this, because it does it takes me deeper and deeper into my spirituality, to be honest with you, because I want to make sense of things. I want to go deeper. I think in another lifetime I would have been a psychologist. I love the workings of it. But this lifetime I was meant to be a spiritualist and really feeling in to the energy of the Spirit, feeling into the grace of God. And probably because I had little smatterings of this in youth, probably just enough to kind of be able to go back to touch on, to keep things going for me. But yes, being in the grace of God, seeing the past through the lens of grace. And even when we come up here, you know, I have Matthew 6:22 up here. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And so, you know, of course, well, maybe not of course, but when I read that, I just immediately think about the third eye. I think about when I go into meditation for prayer, to be still, to feel into that gratitude, to feel into those other aspects of me. So when I jump down to the lens of grace, I see the past through the lens of grace. It may not just obviously be with the eyes, but through the lens, the single eye, thine eye, the lens of grace, because, you know, this tapping in to the higher self, this tapping in the third eye into the God within us, that beautiful energy that's in each and every one of us. So we can separate ourselves from the human, get back over to the spiritual, go into sit in quiet contemplation, into reflection, and see if through the lens of grace, that within you, to get out of the human mind and get into the spiritual mind, how can I see the past through this lens of grace? Okay, how can it design, or how can it support my spiritual evolution? How can this make me stronger, guide me further? And even as I'm saying that, I'm just thinking about, again, going into prayer, feeling that strength of the words prayer, positive energy, those beautiful words that we selflessly send out to others. Or just thanking God, the powers that be, for all the beautiful things that we do have in our lives. Because when we are grateful, we tend to get more of that coming back onto us. So, all right, I guess this is just going to be a shorter video for today. I'm sure some of you are saying, yay. Perception. See the past through the lens of grace. All that occurs is designed to support our spiritual evolution. I'm going to leave you with words: grace, God, love, the God perspective. Bring yourself back to that state of grace, the state of God, the state of love. And see if you can separate things from taking them personally. What is it that you're supposed to get out of this experience, of these different experiences that may be coming to mind? So shift your perception or change it. Just the slightest little shift sometimes can make such a big difference. So what a beautiful card. All right, and I may do more of these, just going through this deck, because again, they're just absolutely beautiful. Awakening, patience, silence. Some of you, I'm sure, would say, yeah, when's that one coming? Ooh, that's actually, maybe I'll even do a meditation, a silent meditation where you can just sit with me. Okay. Affection, comfort, listen, direction, chance, trust, valor, mindfulness. So there's just so many beautiful topics here. This may just be a thing. We'll see. All right. So thank you so much for watching today's episode, tapping into perception with us. And you know what? I know I keep saying one more thing. I'm going to dip out of view here for a moment. This is the cover. Let me get a little closer here. Of the cards, the one that's up there. So these beautiful grace cards, if you're interested in them, by Cheryl Richardson. You can't see that there. Just absolutely Beautiful. So, all right, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or call me. And otherwise, until next time, thank you, be well, and namaste.